is Tricia Lathrop, Catching Memories. Catching Memories, Tricia Lathrop.
Today was the best day of my life. I can't believe how exciting it was. I will never forget what happened today. And with all the arrogance of a 12-year-old, I added, and to prove it, I'm not going to write it down here. The best I can figure is that it was on a family vacation to Minnesota. I remember those vacations. 2 days in an unair-conditioned car in the dog days of August, stuck between my two sisters in the back seat, who loved to play the game, I'm not touching you. When I got back at them, I would play COD. I don't know if any of you remember this game, but whenever you'd go around a corner, bam, come over, dear. Bam, come over, darling. I got back at them the days before seatbelts and car seats. We could do that. But what was it that was so special that a 12-year-old girl would say this was the best day ever? Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests, what the 12-year-old me did not realize is that we have leaky memories at best. And when you add the threat of Alzheimer's today that is just there ready to snatch away the memories, we need to take some effort in catching memories. Some memories are easy. For example, my mom, whenever any of us got a doll, she would say, I remember getting dolls. I would get a doll and I would play with it for a few days, and then it would get sick and die. And I would preach a glorious funeral over my doll and bury it. Somewhere in Maysville, Kentucky, on the Colt family farm, is a perfectly preserved, original issue Shirley Temple doll, 6 inches under. But more memories you have to kind of work at. And I would go visit my grandma periodically and begin to ask her questions and write down her responses. And one day I asked her, I said, tell me about your mom. Now I remember great-grandma Belts. We would go visit her on a regular basis. She lived in an old farmhouse that had an original wood-burning cast iron stove in the kitchen. If you wanted a drink of water, you had to go out and work the pump. If you had to do anything else, you also had to go outside, and they had a deluxe 2-seater out back. But I would come in the house, and this white-haired lady would be sitting by the stairs, and as I would come in, you could see her light up from her toes to her face, and she would hug us. Great-grandma hugs are the best. But when I talked to my grandmother, she didn't tell me about this white-haired old lady. She talked about the young mom, struggling on the family farm, feeding the chickens, tending the crops. A kind and generous woman. And one day, she said, the gypsies would come to town periodically, and while other people were locking their doors, because gypsies back then didn't have a good reputation, they tended to be thought of as thieves and kidnappers. And while other farmers were all closing their doors, my great-grandmother would invite them into the house for a meal. As she saw the cart coming down the road, she would call my grandmother to her and say, Clara, come here. She said, Clara, I need you to take your little brother Jake and go down to the root cellar and stay there and stay very quiet until I come to get you. And so my grandmother would grab the hand of my Uncle Jake and take him down to the root cellar where they hid behind the pickle barrels until the gypsies left and they were free to come out. I love that story about my great-grandma, but you know, I forgot all about it until my grandmother died. And I got out this book that I had written her memories in. And I opened the book and read about my grandmother with the gypsies. What an awesome picture, but it had to be written down. If I hadn't done that, I would have never remembered. Our memories are leaky, and we have to make that effort to catch those memories. And whenever we can, to take the time to catch them. Catch all the memories, the games they used to play, loves won and lost, their first job, their first car, their childhood dreams and hopes. Catch them today and record them. Don't let them get away.